Hello, everyone, and thank you for checking into the Pitstop. This is our recap for Amazing Race, Episode 8. We're letting Race Brain win. I'm James, and with me is the beautiful and gorgeous
Cayla from season 33.
Yes, hey Cayla, how's it going?
It's going. I have a lot to say about this episode. I feel like I've had a lot to say about this whole season, but
same. And I feel like we have two very special guests who might have a lot to say about it as well. And to not keep them waiting any longer, please welcome two equally gorgeous and radiant queens from season 34, Michelle and Molly. Hey, ladies.
Stop! Oh my God. Are you flirting with us?
Maybe I'm in the presence of such queens from Amazing Race.
Thanks for having us. You know that I will come on whenever you need me.
Yes, of course. And Molly, thank you for being here. It's always good to see you as well.
Yeah, so good to see you guys. It's been a minute.
It has been a minute. I'm curious what your overall thoughts have been on this season so far, Molly.
I personally love this season. I love the cast. I don't love my draft. I do a draft with my husband, and I am down to 2 teams left. I have Jack and Carson and Han and Holden. So
ooh, some good teams.
Yeah. I think the cast expectations, I mean, starting off in Asia, starting off with, a costume challenge, these artistic challenges, the mix up of the teams. Like I love all the twists. It's definitely keeping me engaged, and I love the 90-minute format with all the additional twists and all the character development. I think it's been great.
Yes. And Michelle, I know we had Lewis on a couple of weeks ago, but we text about our thoughts all the time. But for the viewers who are watching, what are your thoughts on the overall season?
I'm obsessed with this season. I love the twist. I love the personalities on this season. Obviously, we watch different episodes and we have opinions about it because we like one more than another. But I think in general, it's been a great season and I've enjoyed it a lot.
Agree. I just feel like every episode gets better and better. And there's something about the twists every leg that just really get me. Like I'm obsessed with it. And I think it's something that should stay in future seasons.
I agree.
I'm just a little disappointed on we're going to talk about it later, but the fast forwards and express passes, I just feel like the tasks have been too easy. And it has nothing to do with the cast, but I know it has to do with production, which I love everything production does, but I wish everything was a little bit harder.
I agree. Because just to tie in, I'm loving the twist. I love the idea of it. I hope it stays. I just hope it continues to develop and becomes a little bit more complicated, only because again, as we'll get into it, the structure of this leg, not really giving. So we're
it's just giving a lot of root infos.
Yeah. So where it's if that's going to be the structure of the legs, then I need the constant twists and turns, and I need the 90 minutes to get the different, interactions between teams. Cause that's what did it for me this episode. But yeah.
Yeah, that's what I'm wondering is I love the 90 minutes, but I'm wondering how it's going to go this season with storytelling when there's only 2 to 3 3 teams left or 4 teams left, because it's hard to fill up that time. I'm wondering if they did more tasks or if it's just the same thing that happened last season. But I know or 2 seasons ago, but they weren't prepared last season for an hour and a half episode. So.
Yeah.
But even then, I'm I don't mind a leg being all route infos. It kind of reminded me of our city sprint we did in Manila our season, where it was just get to this point, get to this point. But every route info we got to was a task. There were a few filler route infos this episode where it was just get there, get a clue, and get out. And I almost wish there would have been one more additional task. I mean, I was shook at the random roadblock at the end. I was like, oh, we're on this route info streak. And when they opened the clue and they were roadblock, I was like, okay, season of surprises. It's a roadblock. But there was something lacking this episode for me. But Molly, what were your thoughts?
Yeah, I mean, I think to your point of having a little bit more tasks involved in the whole navigating the city, because I think navigation is tough, as we've seen for some people, right? So people, it opens up the opportunity for someone to get lost, and that makes for good TV, of course. But I do think at the garden, right? there's so many statues. Maybe there was like some history or cultural questions or something they could have done there that would have been cool. They would have got to see some of that socialist art. So yeah, I agree. A little bit more like pinball bouncing back and forth through the city and not doing much. But I do think we were blessed with some of the team dynamics and things that really kind of kept us engaged.
Yes. Thank goodness for the team dynamics, because that's what saved this episode. And let me also just be very clear with my opinion on this. As a racer, not opposed to all these route info stuff. It doesn't translate to TV that well. But I'm watching this and I'm literally thinking and texting James like, these teams have to be exhausted, because the fact that it said on foot and you're going from one place to the next place and the next place to the next place, and at the end you get hit with a roadblock, that's a physical dancing one. You know, it's like, I don't hate the structure of the leg. I actually like it because it wears some teams down and it separates, like you said, the navigation, the physicality. It just doesn't translate to TV as well. So the moments that, you know, you do have an opportunity to really slow down and show it on TV, they were all really quick, like the fast forward and stuff. And then the getting the key. I'm like, are you kidding? You could see the key. I was hoping that they were literally going to be diving and swimming and like, where the hell is this key? You know, like, give me something entertaining. But again, thank goodness for the casting and the team dynamics, you know, themselves, because it made this episode for me. So I can't wait to talk about it.
So I was texting with Corey Cool from season 28 and 31, and he actually brought up a good point that I'm now on the same page with him on, is that I almost wish these two Bulgaria legs were reversed. I wish last week's episode would have been this week's episode, because if everyone had just flown in from Dubai and landed at the Sofia airport at the same time, then the express pass would have been more of an equal playing field, fair game. We probably would have seen multiple teams attempt it, which again goes back to that risk versus reward. And then if last week's episode with the hay would have been this week's episode, the self-driving out of the city to the countryside still would have given us the self-driving navigation drama that it did in last week's episode. I just thought that was a really interesting perspective from Corey, that it would have made a lot more sense had these two legs just been swapped. What do you think?
That's a good point. Yeah.
It was very obvious that Josiah and Alyssa were going to be going for the express pass, because they have so much time on top of everybody. So nobody's going to go for it. I completely agree. I didn't think about it that way, James, but that's a good point.
Yeah. I mean, I also didn't love the express pass for the original, you know, the first one that Jonathan and Anna won.
Yeah.
That is, they don't even have to go anywhere to do this. It's just one person has to kick a ball. Just a little easy to achieve that.
You just have to walk across coals. Like, I thought it wasn't hot and uncomfortable.
They should have had to like balance a tray of something while, like, just give it a little bit more dimension.
Something that could have taken more time for them to complete, to where another team, had they shown up, put the pressure on them and could have at least started it and had a chance. Like, it's just
or even a little more risk, because, you know, sometimes, I can't remember which season it was, but there was an express pass where you got there and it was like, oh, you're skydiving or you're hang gliding, but it's too windy, so you have the risk of you wait and you go, or you just skip it, right?
I think that happened to Justin. No,
Justin, that's right. Yeah. Oh my god.
Well, shout out to Justin. He is in the chat from Racers Recap. Hey, Justin. He said, getting from point A to B has gotten more teams eliminated than any task on The Amazing Race, followed up by, hey, fam. And then shout out to Louis Cologne. He's in the chat. And then, of course, Mark's in the chat. Hey, Mark. Hey, Tim. Hey, Sandy. Hello, everyone. Thanks for watching. We appreciate you being here. But yeah, going back to the express pass, it just would have been more fun to see multiple teams attempt going for it. Because every team after that ripped it open. They were like, oh, Alyssa and Josiah got it. But then I think on the flip side, and playing devil's advocate to the point, is I do think, and like Will and I, guilty of it, like our thought process was, as long as we're not last, we're fine. Like, we're not racing for first every leg. If we get it, great. But with this type of format, with these twists, so maybe future seasons, like if teams go on to it, they're going to fight harder to get those top placements, because who knows what might pop up on the leg after, where there's a little bit more of an eagerness to want to do well and perform well on a leg, knowing there could potentially be an express pass next leg. That, like Alyssa and Josiah, had a huge advantage because they got first the leg prior.
Yeah. And again, like maybe it was a difficult navigation to get to the fast pass. And that was like, like Justin said, getting from point A to point B is what eliminates most people. So again, I actually like the leg. I like it. It just doesn't translate to TV well. But not to take away, like the navigating constantly from a news place to a new spot to a new route info. Again, so maybe the hopes was like, to get to the fast pass, if Josiah and Alyssa got lost, then another team could have maybe had a chance, but again, it's just like, we're not really given or shown that. We just see they released in first, they go after it, they get it, it's done, and it's like, well, yeah, to your point, then I guess for future seasons, like if you want any chance at a fast pass, you better be first.
I was so disappointed when I saw that. When they just walked across and that was it.
It didn't even look that long.
My mouth dropped. I was like, really? That's it?
But again, a testament to Josiah and Alyssa. I am obsessed with them as a couple. I'm obsessed with them as a team. Like their communication, how she's like, I was just like, yep, everything's fine. I don't know. I'm obsessed with them. I sing their praises. I really like watching them.
I love all his dad jokes.
His dad jokes, him hating hot stuff. And then he talks about like, hot chocolate to him is like lukewarm chocolate. I was like, ew, nobody wants lukewarm chocolate.
Okay, that's one of those fears, when like TV shows are like in casting, like, what's your fear? You better lie about your fear, because if you're going to give them your real fear, they're going to give it to you. To me, that seems like a gimmicky, like, I hate hot stuff. And then really like hot stuff. And I'm like, oh my gosh. Meanwhile, I'm like jumping off buildings,
I love it. Well, for the teams that didn't go for the Express Pass, they were instructed to go to Lake Ariana, which was where the first route info of many was waiting for them. And this was to participate in a fun, was it called Jordan's Day celebration? And they had to essentially meet a priest. The priest threw a cross into the lake. Then they had to go retrieve it. I thought this was fun way to tie in some cultural themes of Bulgaria. What did you think of this task?
I loved the priests. I mean, it was a very consistent every single team. Even Jonathan, who typically hasn't shown too much joy during the season, he was hey! That's just a testament to the people in their culture, in their element, having a good time, and the racers getting to be in the moment. So from that perspective, loved it. Thank goodness the priests brought the energy, because the task itself, I mean, they literally just had to dip down. Again, I wanted them to be swimming. I wanted them to have goggles, really searching for this cross.
Just a little bit more layers to the task. Even if there had already been multiple crosses in the water, and maybe they were given one that they had to match, because then it would create a bunch up point at the very start of the leg. I don't know.
Exactly. It was just a completion task to say you did it. I will say I also appreciated that they had to get wet. That's just it's a little Amazing Race thing to where why? And it's well, to make them uncomfortable. And now they're wet the rest of the leg or whatever. But it was fun to watch. I paid attention to who took their shoes off, and Jonathan and Anna did not. And I was why are you going in the water with your shoes on?
Nobody wants to race with wet shoes.
It takes 2 seconds. Just take off your shoes.
Wow, I didn't know that. I noticed that. But as a racer, I love this part, because they get to enjoy a moment in the race where it's not something chaotic. But what Cayla said earlier, it doesn't read well on TV. It's not interesting for us. But as a racer, it's a nice moment. And you could see it on everybody's faces. Everybody was having a really good time.
Yes, agreed.
Yeah.
Well, like Lewis said, this was the happiest I've seen Jonathan.
Yes.
It was.
Did you guys see the shirt he had on? He had a nice little shirt. I've never seen anyone in the race bring those types of shirts. Everybody's always in workout clothes.
Old school race they used to, jeans. They used to wear jeans.
Oh, that's right.
God, that's crazy.
I don't know. I couldn't do that.
Well, after this task is when the biggest mistake of the episode, was Erica, Melinda. Everyone else, and they kept emphasizing it with the teams before because we heard it as viewers of them reading it out loud. You must not take a taxi for the rest of this leg or whatever. And I was like, ooh, somebody is going to mess this up. And then sadly, it had to be Melinda and Erica. I was like, no, like you hear her say, oh, you must take a taxi the rest of this leg. And I was like, oh shit, like this sucks.
What's funny is Erica in like the little, you know, how in Amazing fashion that they do, she's like, we've actually gotten so much better at reading the clue. And I'm like, oh God, that really came
Oh my gosh.
But I was completely honest, watching it, I didn't catch it at first. Like, did you guys all catch it immediately that they took a taxi? See, yes. I didn't. Like, and I honestly, I don't have an excuse. I wasn't distracted. Like, I actually didn't even catch that. And I texted you, James. I go, oh my God, wait a minute. Didn't it say you can't take a taxi? He's like, yes.
I did catch it, but I was disappointed that at the end, it actually didn't really matter. Yeah. I wish they would have been competing with someone and they get to the mat and then they tell them about their mistake, you know?
Love a good penalty. Like, I wonder what the penalty is in, like 15 minutes, 30 minutes, go back and do it on foot.
Oh, well, like Lewis said, rule number 1, read the clue. Rule number 2, read the clue again. And I can't remember if Erica said it in the episode last night or if it was when I interviewed them earlier this afternoon, but she said my rule would be, yes, read the clue, but then to follow up with that, the rule should be read the clue correctly. Mm-hmm. And it's like, that's actually a really good way of tweaking that rule now for future racers to not make this big of a mess up. Like, because they just kept taking taxi from point A to point B to point C.
Not only that, but like both team members should read the clue, because like that's a good way to like check and balance each other. You know what I mean? To where you ripped the clue and you're in the excitement, you read it and you might not catch it. So like just make sure you give it to your partner, have them read it too. Now you have 2 sets of eyes, you know, like that could have been a really like good check and balance there.
Well, she told me that they were doing that. That they were at the beginning, they were doing that, but for whatever reason, Melinda, I don't know if she wasn't wearing contacts or glasses, but she couldn't read the additional details. So that was solely like Erica's responsibility. So she was saying that they would rip open the clue and then Melinda would start running and Erica would start to process what the additional info said. And this was the one time where it was just like misread. Sorry, Molly, I didn't mean to cut you off. What were you going to
say? No, that's okay. I was flashing back to poor Glenda and Lumumba when we were in Bologna and they misread the clue and thought they had to go to our next challenge on foot, where it was drive to this parking lot. And so they left in the first group for that challenge. They had a 15+ minute lead on us because we couldn't get our stick shift car going. So when we got to the clue box and we still saw them walking around, we're like, what the heck is going on? Like, is the challenge still here? And you know, they were just walking around Bologna, like totally, and then ended up like in last place. He was the last one to get to Ducati. So it was just read the clue. Are you supposed to travel on foot? Are you supposed to travel by taxi? Are you supposed to travel in the same car? And also, like, sometimes it'll tell you, keep your taxi.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, Justin. Keep your taxi. You don't have to go flagging down another one. So yeah, definitely important. Good
well, interesting from Mark. Mark says also not convinced the taxis were any faster. The public transport was really, really fast. I mean, that was one thing about this leg design that I really did enjoy, that it forced the teams to take the public transit. And you kept hearing them have those conversations of like, should we take the bus? Should we take the train? Like there was a little bit of this like strategic planning of how they were going to get from point A to point B that I thought was really interesting.
I was going to say, I like that it was, you can't take a taxi, but you can go by foot or by bus. It forced, the idea is it forces them to take public transit and use it and know how to, you know, navigate with that. But as you heard in the beginning, Mark and Brett. You heard them at once say, oh no, we're fast by foot, let's just go by foot, until someone who gave them directions was like, oh no, you need to take a bus. So it's like, I love that, like, some people might have just tried to go by foot because they didn't trust themselves with public transit. I don't know. It's like that element of it, again, as a racer, I like.
Yeah.
Being forced, like, are we going to go by foot or do we risk public transit? Because like how the one time he was like, well, one time I missed the B bus and I had to wait an hour.
Yeah.
Mm.
Well, and it delivered one of the best moments of the episode, in my opinion, which was Carson and Jack getting on the bus.
What are
And then
they
they were like, wait a minute. This is the guy from the leg prior. This is the wood guy.
Oh my God, yes.
On his daily bus, like, and the Spider-Man meme where they're all pointing at each other, and they were like, it almost felt like he was a spirit. Like, that was just so like hilarious.
I love them that they were in the car talking about being Delulu the whole entire time. They're like, oh, I know we're Delulu, but I think we're doing great.
And just how the guy, like, it's just funny because now as we're watching what a Kleck stand is, that kind of leads into like the next stage. So sorry if I'm getting ahead.
No, that's.
But the guy in the bus, he's like a Kleck. So he's like, it just means that you have to go down like this. If someone were to say that to me, I'd be like, what the hell is that?
What the Kleck?
What? And then now that I watch it and I see it, like that would just be something I would laugh about later. But like that was his clue, and it was actually a brilliant clue. You know, he's like, oh, you have to squat down like this. But in the moment, if I was Carson and Jack, I'd be like, what the hell?
Yeah. And they didn't really remember. They didn't play it either.
Yeah.
But is that like a race first where teams run into like part of the cast of like
maybe
to my knowledge, I mean, Justin's in the chat, so maybe Justin can correct me, but like to me, I was like shook. I was like, this is hysterical. I don't feel like this has ever happened before. And like it was just so casual. Like, what are the odds? We know that they had to drive 25 miles back to the city. So it was hilarious. Justin says yes.
Oh, that's awesome.
Oh, they said that Josiah and Alyssa ran the whole leg.
Oh, yep. Josiah and Alyssa.
Wow. That's exhausting.
Wow. And they both have backpacks. That's impressive.
So again, that's like little things that's going to affect them next leg. Like how much downtime did you have? How much physically did you exert yourself? You know, they're like gazelles.
They never stop. They never slow down. But I did like the Kleck shop thing. Again, it's a cool way of tying in Bulgaria and just getting a little bit of history as a viewer. It just felt like this could have been another point in the route info leg where maybe they could have done some kind of delivery, or they had to like bring something to the Kleck shop just to add something else, so it wasn't like a get here, grab a clue and go, because I thought the Kleck shop was really interesting.
Yeah.
Well, after the Kleck shop, they had to make their way to St. Clement Central Library at Sofia University to find their next clue. And this was the Cyrillic alphabet. We learned that this was invented in Bulgaria. It's a writing system used by a number of languages in Eastern Europe and Central Asia, which I thought was so interesting. And teams had to use a Cyrillic cipher to figure out what's written on the pages of the ancient book on display. Once they give their correct answer to the librarian, they'll get their next clue. I loved this task, and it delivered a lot of great moments that made the episode better than it could have been. Do you know, like it just was fun and interesting to see how the teams really thought about this task. And especially like Josiah and Alyssa, like I got it. They completely overthought it to the point where like we do puzzles, we do escape rooms, they're climbing the ladders, they're looking through the books. Like I can't fault them. Like I appreciate it.
That's what I was thinking. I would have done this. It would have drove me insane. I would be opening every single book, trying to figure out how to transcribe this.
I think I would have been just like Mark. Like I would have gotten so frustrated with the thing, I would have just picked it up and mistakenly discovered that, oh, there's English on the back. So genius. It was really good. Really good. But I have a bone to pick because in my personal opinion, there's way too much helping. At this stage of the game, I think if you want to get strong teams out, this is your chance. Do not give them any sort of clues. Like, I don't know, Alyssa and Josiah could have been stuck in the back, and maybe that makes a difference the next leg if there's some kind of twist, right? Granted, they have the express pass, but they might have burned it on this silly little task.
Yep.
Yeah. Especially if they all knew that they went for the express pass. So that would have been, a good chance to maybe flush it out of them if they got too paranoid.
Exactly. Yeah.
This was just my favorite part, I think, about the whole season so far, though, because yes, I agree with you, Molly. Why are we helping at this stage? Like, I just didn't really see the need. If anything, what I would have done, and no offense to Erica and Melinda, but that's the team I would have helped because I don't really feel threatened by them at this stage in the game. Let's help get them through to get a strong team out.
Yes.
So it was just interesting who chose to work with who, because even when they started, the teams that were working together, Han and Holden and
America.
It was very, very entertaining, I thought, to see the transition and, oh, actually, I'm not helping you anymore, but yes, we're on the same page. Let's keep it quiet. And then, oh, backtracking. Okay, now I'm actually going to go help. Yep. It was like, that was such a whirlwind of like, what is going on?
Yeah. I loved it. I agree. I mean, probably shocker that I'm like, ooh, like teams shouldn't help each other because, our season was known for that. But I will say I did like seeing the teams kind of weigh out the pros and cons. Like with Jonathan and Anna, I don't agree with their decision, especially with what Justin's pointing out. Alyssa and Josiah voted for them at the U-turn vote. You don't owe them anything in terms of good karma and investment. That's out the window when they voted you as a U-turn.
Yep.
But with Jonathan and Anna, I did like hearing the thought process of like why, even if we don't agree, we can say whatever we want from the couch. Like it was just, I loved it as a viewer to see their gears going of what were they going to do. And the same thing goes with like Han and Holden. Like I was shook that Melinda and Erica walked in, Han and Holden are there, and they're like, hey, do you guys want to work together? To which Han and Holden agree. And then the moment Melinda and Erica got up to go do check, Han and Holden immediately turned to Jack and Carson and like, let's work together. And I was like, what the hell is going on? It was just so interesting to see.
Chaotic.
Yes, I loved it. It delivered some great moments for me.
I agree. I just have to point out like another just giggle moment was when Erica goes to get a check and she's like TKMOL
and then we're close. He says we're close. I'm like, no.
Oh my God, that happened to Lewis and I. We did an escape room recently and we had to figure out like some letters, and it was at the end of the day, it was like secret, right? Something usually spells out to something, but we were like TGFR. I think we're close. I think we're really close. It was kind of that moment too. Usually in the race or in an escape room, there's usually a word that comes out of it, not just random letters.
Especially if it's a book, it's got to be a phrase, not letters.
Exactly.
And they're like the Bible, and then they're putting together letters.
That just made me giggle so hard. Like I just thought that was so funny. But yeah, I do love seeing the insight in their thought process, of like, oh, like, this may help us out, like, future karma or whatever. But again, I don't know. I just think my brain would have been different. Like, I don't get why why the strong teams are helping each other. Like, I don't know. It's interesting. It was it was the most interesting part about the whole season and 100% about the episode. I'll say that.
Yeah. And also helping, oh, sorry.
Oh, sorry. I'd say the karma came in the opposite form for Jonathan and Anna because Alyssa and Josiah passed them.
I know.
So what was you could have left them in the dust and they would have never passed you. So
yes. And I'm only bringing this up because it's a point that I feel like fans constantly make still, and like DMs or tweets to me and Will, like everyone's like, the rules have changed because of your season. And I hate to say it, this is a prime example where the rules didn't, because the teams got their clue and they immediately went back into the room where the teams were still ciphering and gave them pointers, where I actually agreed after our season that one of the rules I think that was discussed by production was if you get your clue, you keep on going, your race continues. And I actually am an advocate for that. I don't think that that's a bad idea. And I just think this was a prime example of why rules have not changed. it should be, because Jonathan and Anna got their clue. Then they went back into the room to tell Alyssa and Josiah when their race should have kept going. And the same thing goes with Han and Holden. They're waiting in the hallway and they're like, Jack and Carson, you guys go. We're waiting. Once you guys get it and go, we're going to tell Melinda and Erica. And I was just like, wow. I get it. I get the criticism. And I do think that that's a rule that should be implemented.
Yeah. And then telling Melinda and Erica at the end, it wasn't a smart thing either, because what if something happened to you getting to Phil? Right. Like you either getting lost or anything can happen, you know? And I mean, I don't know. I wouldn't have done it.
Well, then on the flip side, with like Han and Holden and Jack and Carson kind of leaving at the same time, I then understood the strategy. Like, we know Melinda and Erica are behind us. Like, let's go together to stay ahead of that. That resonated. That didn't bother me. I thought that made sense. Go ahead, Cayla.
So yes, that made sense. So y'all are running around lost. You go all the heck over the place, and then now all of a sudden, okay, we're gonna split up. What? There were just so many moments where I'm like, make this make sense. Like the title of the episode, and this is not me criticizing, like this is like, I love the title of the episode about the whole race brain wins. Like there was race brain happening because some of these decisions being made is like, you're already lost together, maybe get unlost together, because now that the fact that y'all are both maybe lost and you helped Erica and Melinda, they may be out of there. And so if you separate and you're the team that gets further lost, like at least make it a foot race. Like I was like, what is this logic of now separating?
Oh my God.
Oh, again, thank goodness for all these little things that happen, because it made the episode, like, you know, but it's like, I cannot.
But I also love that it was a bunch point. Like, I think with the leg like this with a bunch of route infos, it can start to feel very linear. And I did appreciate that we had multiple teams at the Cipher point, which made it very exciting. So I think we're all in agreement this was a good task.
Yeah. Yes. I do think, though, Jack and Carson could have been a little bit more discreet about flipping their thing over.
Oh, I know.
Leaving it in the air. I'm like, you should be looking and like only lifting it when they're not looking. Right?
Yeah. Yeah. Lewis wrote in the comments, he said, eraser tip is when you're stuck on a task, spy and watch the other teams. 100%. That works all the time.
Yeah. 100%. I would have gotten up and physically stood over them, or I would have been like walking and pretending like I'm looking at books and like, okay, are you guys really stuck, or like what's happening here? Like you have to. I will say Jonathan and Anna did an excellent job of doing that in secret. Like I wish that they would have just kept that to themselves and gone.
Yep. 100%.
Yeah.
And that could have been the difference, because if Alyssa and Josiah win, you never know.
Exactly though, Molly. Exactly. Like you're there. If that's what ends up happening, like if that was me, I would literally be losing sleep right now of like, had I not done that, like maybe me and Raquel would have been the winner.
Yep.
Like, oh, that's so true. Well, in our finale, Lewis wrote it in the comment too. Lewis looked over at Derek, and he saw him pressing the black keys. That's when we realized that we weren't pressing more keys. You gotta look.
We probably won't be there.
But now imagine if they had done the Cipher in different parts of the library, so they weren't able to see other teams and they weren't able to like share that tip of like flip it over.
Or if they have like some kind of desk where it like covers, that would be really cool too.
Like when you're taking like the SATs in school and it's just like those cardboard box things that you're kind of in.
Dividers.
Yes, exactly. Great task though.
Great task.
Yes, was a good one. After they finished doing the Cipher, they had to make their way to the Museum of Socialist Art in search for their clue in the sculpture garden. Again, I think it was you, Molly, that brought that up about how they could have used the sculpture garden. Maybe they should have had clues scattered and different sculptures in the garden just to give it a little bit more to it. But otherwise, it was just, again, get there, get your clue, and get out.
Right. Which again, we weren't the ones racing. Like, yeah, we're like, oh, they should have thrown more in there. Like people like Josiah and Alyssa who ran the whole damn leg. They're probably like, no, it was.
They're exhausted. We're good.
Translational TV, but yeah.
Well, actually, we didn't bring this up, but I do love that the teams were counting the clues in the clue box. And I think there was a point when Melinda and Erica got to the library and they said there's like, 2 clues. God, there's 2. And then same thing with Josiah and Alyssa, when they showed up to this clue box, they looked and they went, oh, wow. They knew Jonathan and Anna had fallen behind them just because of how many clues were in the box.
Yep.
Did you guys ever count the clues? Will and I did.
Oh, yeah. All the time.
I didn't start counting them until I'd say like 4 or 5 legs in, because I remember Raquel making a comment like, oh, comment or like, count them. And in my mind, I was like, that takes a little bit of time. It will take 2 seconds, but I was like hyper paranoid. So that'll take too much time. I was like, and also there's probably just extra clues in there to throw us off. And it's like, no, the race is not trying to trick you. So once I did figure that out, I was like, oh, these are actually like, this is accurate.
Yeah. I think I really did in my seasons because since we did self-driving, when you were off by 5 minutes, it could have taken you all the way to the back of the pack, or it felt like you were lost for more than an hour when you were fine, So we would always count the clues. I would, oh my God, I hated navigating. I would have a heart attack and then I would get there and count the amount of clues. I'm like, oh my God, I actually did good.
It's kind of like a nice boost of energy of like,
yeah, it is. It feels good.
Yeah.
I did appreciate though, like I said, the random roadblock at the end of this leg. And I think Justin said it in the chat that the dance task was a little too easy, but the roadblock said, who wants to step back into time, where the teams were given the opportunity to link up with some local dancers to perform a very complicated routine. Once they fall in line with the pros, they would be rewarded with their clue. We saw Mark, Josiah, Anna, Jack, Holden, and Melinda attempt this roadblock, but I was actually really impressed that the most was 3 attempts, and that was Anna.
I'm not impressed because the dance was super easy. I'm pretty sure Mark was just watching and, he got the 8 counts that repeated and he could have done it without even practicing.
And then he does it like a pro. And granted, I danced with Mark and we did Grinchmas at Universal Studios together. And there were 4 different casts. And like the cast he was a part of, they were known as like the elite dancers. Like that was the cast that was known to have like the pros. I was in the cast that was like bottom of the barrel. We were the personality hires. So we always looked up to Mark's cast. Like, they're the good ones. So when he got up there and danced, I was like, this bitch. Like, of course, he looks like he's been doing this for years.
Yeah. It like they said, like it was the perfect task for him. Like, you know what I mean? They were hoping for it. And I'm like, that would have actually been my worst actual.
I think they should have hoped for a harder dance, honestly, because
I know
it really separated them. I mean, that dance literally, you didn't have to learn any armography. Your arms were just tucked in.
Well, no. They were actually tucked into the belt of the person next to them. Did y'all notice that? I literally, for a second, I was like, why is that girl's hand in his pants? And they're all like in each other's belt.
Like literally, you couldn't go the wrong direction because the entire line is going that way.
It looked like just like kick. I don't know. I still would have sucked at it. Like I that is my literal worst nightmare. But yeah, it did look easy.
Yeah, I don't like judging dance. Oh my God, I can't think of the word. I don't like. Well, I don't like judging the task of dance, because for me, since I'm a dancer, things are easier for me. So I like to hear your opinion, like Cayla. Like for you, it looked like it would have been hard, but for us, we look at it and we're like, it's so easy
for me. Yeah, I don't know why, and like maybe like outside of, I get. It's funny because like now that you're saying that, I'm like, okay, I guess it did look super repetitious, but like I just don't consider myself to be someone with rhythm, and like.
Well, Cayla, give yourself some credit because Jack was terrified. I feel like Jack was terrified. Like when he opened, he was like,
yeah, that's true. Yeah, he did.
I would have been very overwhelmed. Like the costume, music. Yeah, it's like I think I would have eventually gotten it. I don't think it would have been the first attempt, but there are definitely other dance routines on Amazing Race that I know for a fact would have taken me 15, 20 tries probably. And I will say this one was not one of those. It doesn't take away from the fact that I just hate everything choreography and everything dance, and I would have been petrified to do it. But I did like how when, Jack and them were talking, he's like, oh, I think it's going to be history. I think this is going to be you. Like, had that been me in that scenario, I would have cussed Raquel out so bad. I'm like, I didn't want to do. This has nothing to do with history. But I don't know. Yeah.
I just think if the dance is a harder task, then it has to be a detour because not everyone is dancers. So it is kind of unfair if you have it as a roadblock.
Yeah,
that's true. But they did a roadblock dance in 35. It was the tough Irish dancing.
Mm-hmm.
Oh yeah.
And that set people way back.
Oh yeah, I forgot about that one.
Yeah.
Just dancing, no thanks. Hard pass.
I do think we need to give some praise to Melinda though. Like,
oh my!
I loved her. So cute.
Screaming. And then I
watched her face.
Yes, she was just like lit up. I watched the episode early in the day, and then when Will was done with work, we watched it together. And I was just waiting for this moment because, like, Will's a dancer, obviously. So when it got to it, he was watching Melinda, and he starts to lean closer to the TV, and he's like, "Oh my God, she's killing!" Like he was so impressed and was like screaming and how like. I was impressed. I mean, like that was just so impressive, and she literally was so excited. And I even told her in her interview today, I was like, you earlier in the season were so apprehensive about ever doing a roadblock. And like you just didn't want that pressure. With this one, I felt like you went into it with such ease and then you completely crushed it. Like it was such like an evolution of Melinda.
Yeah. She crushed all of her road. I mean, the rice she was really good at that. Yeah, it was really cool to watch.
I'm really sad. I wanted them to last a little bit longer, but I had a feeling that it was their time to go.
Yeah.
There's a lot of strong teams left.
I hate to say it, like, them taking a taxi in theory you'd think should have been faster, and like in fact like it actually wasn't.
I thought they were gonna run out of money. Like they don't have much money, and I was like, do they have enough? But they must have been very short routes.
Well, yeah, that's a good point with the money. I would have been curious how much they got for this leg, because usually it's like kind of allotted and kind of they're anticipating how much a team might need for the leg. But if they weren't anticipating teams taking taxis, and granted, if you're frugal, you can definitely have leftover money, but that would have been interesting if they didn't have enough.
Maybe $10. We had all of our money left over. At the very end, we literally used it at the bar with all the other teams in the production. So I'm like, I would love to know what it's like to be on a season where like you needed the money they gave you, because we did not spend a dime. We bought one map throughout the whole race, and that was it.
Yeah, we didn't really spend much.
We had money. It didn't really matter though. Like for our race, it wasn't about running out of money at all, because there was always enough, and we did a lot of self-driving. So
yeah, like we didn't need taxis because it was COVID. They didn't want us doing that, it was, I don't know. I would have loved
it was more for like parking, to pay for parking.
We had money drama. I might have shared this story once in our recap already, but with Haley and Kaylin on the very first leg, when we were flying to Trinidad, we stopped in Houston, and at the airport, they bought Wolfgang Puck, and they ended up blowing their entire leg money. So when they get to Trinidad, they were like, oh my God, we don't have money for a taxi. But because these girls are so freaking charming and gorgeous from South Carolina, they didn't have to pay for their taxi. Their cab driver was totally chill, just kind of escorting them around the island. And I was like, oh my God, these girls are so lucky.
That's like Haley and Cayla.
When we took the taxi from Bogota to the salt mines, Hung and She paid out their taxi, and then we're down in the salt mines, and they're like, how much was your taxi? And we're like, oh, not that much. Like, we have this much money left. And Hung and She were like, they took all of our money. And we were like, oh. So they got lucky though, because when other teams were being dropped off, one of the cabs at the top knew who their cab driver was and called them, and they turned around and gave hung and cheese.
No way. Wow.
Yeah, those are the only times we ever had like big money snafus on our season.
That's crazy.
Yeah,
Speaking of
I mean,
our COVID season, though, I'm like, I have so much FOMO seeing all the twists and things, like, and just being able to choose, do I want to take like the subway or a bus, or do I want to walk? Like, we had to drive the whole freaking season, and we never got to like book tickets or plan, you know, anything. So I have so much FOMO when I watch these newer seasons now.
I do too, Molly. I do too.
I mean, hopefully we'll see all of us in an all-star season. Any producers listening? So we could get the real experience.
Yes, let us back.
Bring us back. We want to pay for a bus.
I want my
taxi sleep on the ground.
Right? I know. I was so ready to like sleep in an airport. Like,
Me too.
I definitely think that would have been one of our superpowers, being exhausted and still running the race.
Yeah, me and Raquel said that all the time. Like, we were flight attendants, we're used to navigating like airports, we're used to sleeping crap hours, running on fumes. It's like, no, everyone had a luxurious hotel stay for more than 24 hours and got to completely recoup. It's like, that would have eventually built up for some teams as far as like fatigue goes. And like our season just didn't have that. Everyone was just pretty cush.
Yeah, you would see like teams on our season be upset at the end of the leg over something, and you could see them like kind of mad at each other. But since they had a whole night's sleep or 1 or 2 days, by the time they started the next leg, they were fine and dandy and little
refreshed.
pretty roses.
And then you wake up looking haggard.
Emily wouldn't have had the rest time, so her knee, she would have been done.
Yeah.
Oh. I mean, you could have carried her on your back, Molly. I know you could do it.
You could do it.
So both of our knees would have been broken.
Exactly.
Justin said we ran out of money 4 times, and the only thing extra we got was a Disney princess alarm clock. Cab drivers ripped us off in 4 different countries.
Oh my
Mark
God.
says Brett and I always ran low on money. We got hungry. That's so real, Mark. That's so real. And then also said and got scammed a couple of times. Yeah, I wish they would show, because sometimes the money stuff is actually really.
It is.
I also, like, as silly as it sounds, but like, so I guess if you use your own money to get food, like, when did you? Question for you, Mark. When did you fit in time to get food?
Airports.
Yeah. Okay. I only let Lewis buy one little Pringle thing this small, and I never let him touch the money again. Yeah.
But again, this is just where it's different for COVID. Like, when we were done, like, they provided us food.
Yep.
Yeah.
So like, we were always like, why would we spend our money? We're getting fed afterwards.
Yeah.
But again, that's just because we did not have airport sit time. Like, that was like high, like, you know, they didn't. Yeah. So, okay. That makes sense. I knew that. Sorry. Can you see me at the hotel to the bar? We tried.
Wish.
We couldn't even sneak to like say hi to our neighbors. Like, we had to like peek out windows and like scream.
Yeah, it had to be out of the windows. We couldn't look out the door.
Yeah, me, Kim, and Penn, and Raquel, we'd cuckoo.
How do you deal with toilets? Like, going to the bathroom?
Jonathan. Yeah, like Jonathan in Bali. They had to leave the cast to go.
Oh, Molly, you could say your story.
I popped a squat.
I just peed my pants. Running down. I peed my pants, but it was so hot that my pants dried like instantly.
Oh my dead.
Yeah, and it wasn't just because they told us, we left at like 4:35 in the morning that morning, and they were like, you have to hydrate. So I think I drank like 2 of those huge water bottles, like liter. And I didn't really need it because you weren't actually sweat. It wasn't like Florida hot, like where you're humid.
Dry hot.
It was dry hot. So I wasn't excreting the water any other way. And we started all running. It was that when we were the big group running down in Jordan in Petra. And the fanny pack was just bouncing on my belly. I could not hold it. I was just like, it's happening. And That's it. I did not say anything though, because I did not want that to be on TV.
I almost peed myself that day too because they told us to overhydrate.
Yeah,
And
they said,
the fanny pack started hitting me and I took it off and I threw it at Lewis. And I was like, if you want to win first place, you're carrying everything right now.
oh.
I love it. Mark also said Brett and I got in a fight because he wouldn't let me buy a tin of matcha. He was right.
Good.
Speaking of Mark and Brett, congratulations on getting first place this leg. So exciting. So proud of you two. That is your second first place this season, followed by Alyssa.
Mark and Brett are going up.
You're like
up,
peaking.
up. I love it. Yes.
And this is the point in the race where you want to peak.
Yes.
Jonathan and Anna in third, Carson and Jack getting fourth, as Phil dubbed it one of the greatest comebacks in Amazing Race history. Fifth, Han and Holden. And then sadly last was Melinda and Erica, who did not get a surprise non-elimination leg, which in a season of surprises, that would have been surprising. But I asked them in their interview, I already knew the answer, but I was like, it sucks you got eliminated, but would you have rather been eliminated because you got last? That's just how it worked out. Or would you have preferred to have gotten fourth and then Phil tell you have like all these penalties for taking a taxi and then go out because everyone checks in after you? Like, it's kind of a blessing in disguise that you got eliminated the way you did, because that would have been a tougher pill to swallow.
Yes.
Sitting on the sidelines watching teams check in.
Yeah.
And her mom would have been exhausted. Melinda would have been dead.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But of course they said we would rather get eliminated the way we got eliminated. I was like, of course.
I would too.
Justin points out every team left has 2 wins except Han and Holden, who's only finished in the top 3 wins. So yeah, let's speak about our final 5 teams and kind of give a little bit of an assessment on each and how we think the rest of their race is going to go. Well, let's start with Brett and Mark since they were first. I mean, they're peaking. This is the time in the race to start peaking. I think Brett and Mark have it to go all the way to the top 3, if not win at this point.
Yeah, I agree.
100%.
Yeah, I think what brought them down from the beginning of the race was when he was partnered up with, I forgot the dad's name.
Ernest.
And they got stuck towards the end. But if not, they would have been killing it the whole entire race. I feel like they're the whole package. And I picked them as my team to win. So you guys better get it together and win.
Your one and only one.
My one and only one.
Yeah. And then what about Alyssa and Josiah?
I've grown to love them.
I know. I just think that they're like the absolute cutest. They're so strong. Like, they're so positive, and that just goes without speaking. Like, that's just a huge trait to have running the race. Yeah, I don't know. I just feel like I don't know. I'm so torn between who I think is going to win. I think it's going to be Brett and Mark, Alyssa and what's his name?
Josiah.
I'm drawing a blank right now. Or Carson and Jack.
Same. I think they're the top 3.
Top 3, and like I think they will duke it and run it out, and I would be happy with any 3 of them.
That would be an exciting
I think it would be an
finale.
exceptional final 3.
Yeah, that's definitely my top 3 as well. I think they've all had each of their own like blunders earlier on, right? So they can learn from that and continue to move forward. Though Jonathan and Anna also had that. But at some point, the strength of your relationship does become such a factor. And not to say that they don't have a great marriage, but the race relationship that we've seen is not the race relationship that typically carries people to the end and take it home.
Like,
and this is adding
ultimate leg burnout. Like, they could go out for it.
And this is adding on like stress and exhaustion from other legs, because you see Jonathan keep mentioning every leg about the past, and he's like, oh, we could have gotten the express pass if we didn't get stuck in the ditch, and everything bad keeps happening to us, and you can't have that energy at all. Like, you got to cut that, and it's another day, it's a new day, and you got to start over. So I kind of feel like it's going to catch up to them.
He always says it's bad luck, and I'm like, I don't know if it's bad luck as it is more poor choices.
Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, he's definitely using the bad luck thing, but I will say at least in his confessionals, I feel like he's trying to be more positive, and it might be one of those like the more you tell yourself that, the more you believe it, and like maybe we could see it like, kind of turn around. Do I think it's going to turn around in like the projection and like the quickness in which it needs to be to get first? I don't think so. Yeah, I think Molly put it perfectly. This is just not a typical race team relationship that we see that ends up working out. Nothing against them. Han and Holden, I think there's too much race brain going on to where at this stage in the race, like, I mean, look at the strong teams you're racing against. Like, you literally cannot afford a mistake.
Yeah. Like, I wouldn't be surprised if Han and Holden were eliminated next, sadly. I mean, I think they're hilarious. Like,
I know, I love them. They're so cute.
I wouldn't be surprised if they're a team that gets invited back because they're just so funny. And their sibling dynamic it makes for good TV. Like, they bicker, then they're like supportive, and then Holden has funny one-liners, and Han's actually good at like the most random things. Like, she crushed 2 of those surfing road. Like, they're good to watch, but yeah, like I think that sadly, like, they're going to run out of lives next week.
Yeah, they're a little bit too
aware. Yeah, they're so aware of their race brain. It's funny. But like you said, they don't really have time to like sit down and like regroup and think about it and how they fix it. But
well, we heard Phil say next time on the race, teams travel to Naples, where it's mozzarella hell or whatever for Han and Holden, and then pizza nightmares for Carson and Jack. So I'm wondering if these 2 teams are going to be duking it for last.
I was going to say, like, you never know. Like, this could be a stage where like a really strong team makes an unfixable mistake. And I will be floored. Like, my jaw will be on the floor if that does happen to Carson and Jack. But yeah.
The preview made me want pizza. Same. I felt like the preview gave me nothing. I was like, that's it.
I was like, what twist can we expect next
Yes, that's what I want to know.
Maybe a non-elimination.
You know what? Actually, Cayla, that would make the most sense because I feel like with these twists every leg, I'm almost anticipating it being the memory challenge in the final leg. Like, what leg and country was this twist, and then like mapping out the twist because it's every leg. And because they didn't tease it, it makes you wonder if it's a non-elimination.
I'm thinking so. I'd put money on it.
That could be what saves Carson and Jack then. By the way, I hope they get to eat that pizza.
I know.
Like one team member was eating while the other one was making.
Yeah, Carson was like struggling in the kitchen, and then it cut to like Jack just sitting at the table enjoying a slice.
Oh, good. I love that.
I mean, it would be kind of iconic if Jack and Carson have difficulties this episode, get the non-elimination leg, right? Get saved. And then they end up winning the whole race. You know, it'd be interesting to see that.
And I also feel like just the way that they recovered from a 3-hour deficit, and then they ran into one of the like cast members. Like, it's just like, is this like their North Star? Like, they're just on their thing, like just I don't know, unicorn of a season for them, if so.
Yeah, are they getting the winners? What is it called? The winners edit? Yeah.
But they did do like a little blurb on them, right? This week they kind of went back and they talked about
talking about how like Jack wasn't out and he sees Carson dancing to Born This Way. Yes. And he was like, oh my, that was so good. I love getting that little
but then it made me nervous that I'm like, oh, they're getting a storyline. Are they gonna be out today?
We always try to look so deep into all of these things, trying to figure out what they're telling us.
Well, I also feel like we haven't really seen that with Brett and Mark, now that I think about it.
No, we haven't.
But everyone else, have we? Like, I think we heard about Jonathan and Anna.
We've heard about Han and Holden.
Yes, we've heard about Han and Holden actually a few times. Which watch them be like the one that wins it all and like completely shocks everybody. They're gonna be like the Beekman boys, and like
I mean, I would love that too, because I love them. I think they're adorable. So
I do too.
I definitely.
And sometimes we want to go for the underdogs.
100%.
Ben
Or
said
just
On and
that
Holden are just
duo.
that duo.
Yes.
Only
That
time will
duo.
tell. I can't believe the season has gone by so fast. I'm looking forward to the drama in Naples, and I feel like we're left with 5 really great teams that are going to make these last couple of episodes very exciting to watch unfold. So I'm looking forward to it.
Me too.
Too.
Michelle and Molly,
Almost
thanks
done. I
for-
don't want it to be gone.
I know. Hopefully we'll see each other in New York and celebrate this season together.
I'll be there. Oh,
I'm gonna
look, we have a special guest.
Oh my gosh, Lewis, Lieutenant Lewis.
Hi, everybody. I just want to say, James, I love your recap. You and Cayla are awesome. I want to say, everybody supporting Tar podcast, thank you for supporting us. Don't forget to watch Croqueta Chat.
A little bit like
No.
that.
Don't forget to watch Croqueta Chat. If you haven't
I
seen our
want in.
podcast,
I
we're a
want
bunch of
in.
fools with fun segments. And yeah, Michelle Porque, Ninja Mike. And yeah, if you know, you know. And there's a lot of twerking.
Now you got twerking on your show, James.
Thank
Congrats.
you, Lewis. That shouldn't be for free, babe.
He'll send you the invoice after.
When are you going live, Michelle? Have you guys picked a date and time yet?
We're doing Sunday night.
Okay. Well, if you need
Okay.
guests, I would love to join.
Canada.
Michelle and Molly, thank you so much for joining our recap today. Always love hearing
Thanks
your
for
thoughts on
having
this
us.
season. And we'll be back again next week for episode 9.
Can't wait.
Yeah. Bye, everyone.
Bye, Queen.